So when you're ever trying to pursue something in your life, you'll always have these two voices in your head. One which is on the far left side of the spectrum, that essentially the sky is falling, nothing will work out right in your favor. Then on the right hand side of the spectrum, you got life is a wonderland and nothing can be wrong. But how do you actually deal with these internal struggles? And the biggest thing I've found is by dealing with this internal struggle, you have to take a step back and realize, is that your actual voice? Because a lot of times we associate these two voices in our heads as our own. And I read this book by Michael Singer, and he puts this perfectly, right? He essentially says that you need to take a step back and essentially just pay attention to what the voices are saying. It's almost like watching a movie theater, and these two voices are the narration to your story. So you're going along through your story, and you get these two people that are essentially narrating the whole story. You got, again, the very left and the very right narrating your story. And a lot of times we listen to these voices and try to take advice from these voices. But the problem is that, again, they are too far on both sides of the spectrum. So we always have to try to aim for something in the middle. And I've always thought with dealing these thoughts, right, this conflict that's going on in your head, right, that it's a constantly internal conflict because those voices never shut up. And if you actually take some time and just sit there and listen to the voices all throughout the day, like take a seat back and just listen to what the voices, try to pay attention to what the voices are saying, and you realize that there's like two crazy people in your head just talking back and forth. And so it's trying to find a happy medium between the two, because if you listen to that fear voice, you will never go after those things that you want. And if you listen to that happy-go-lucky, you will not be as cautious as you may need to be when you're trying to go after some of these things that you're trying to achieve. And I do believe you need to weigh a little bit more side on the hopeful side, on the Mr. Life is wonderful side, because you should still pursue those things. But you should be cautious in a way that you are not fearful of what's going on, but that you still have a plan in place. And that essentially will help buffer some of that, over-exuberant, life is wonderful side, but still gives you some protection from that fear. And so that's ultimately where you need to reside, is find this middle ground. And you find that by finding this middle ground, you can be a lot happier and really trying to remove thought from it mostly. And that's what just trying to listen to these voices is what it's essentially trying to say. Just picture it as almost like driving in a car and you're just passing by. You hear the voices and then it's gone, right? And then you're just admiring what's going on, and essentially your view of the world, where you're going through your life, and understand that these voices aren't yours. They're there to essentially make you fearful, because you have a part of your brain that's going to make you always take a step back. There's always that fearful side that is always there to try to protect you. But you got to remember that voice of fear in you is a voice that was instilled in us at such a long time ago, to essentially make us aware of us being out in nature, right? And if you see something moving in the bushes, you better watch out, because it might be a wolf or something that's getting ready to attack, right? So that's what that voice is there for, to keep you fearful enough so for your own safety. But if you live in that zone, you will never achieve those things that you want in life. You'll be too fearful to react to anything because of that voice. And then again, on the opposite side, you don't want to be so hopeful that everything will work out, because you still have to understand that not everything will work out. But, you can still proceed that way, but again, in caution. And so this is why your intuition and following your heart is also extremely big in guiding you, because a lot of times we don't know what we want. A lot of times we have this intuition, and it knows what exactly we need in our life. It knows what will make us happy without us actually acknowledging that. And a lot of times we let our brain overpower our intuition, as opposed to listening to that intuition. And I found even for myself, it takes a lot to be able to essentially turn up the volume on that intuition, so you can hear that more over the other two voices that are going on in your head. So again, you got all this internal struggle trying to figure out what you want in life, and you're Mr. Hopeful. You just, one day everything's going to work out, and then you get Mr. Fearful. Well, I don't want to put myself too far out there because what's going to happen is I'm going to get hurt. And then you got the intuition, which is like, well, I don't really, it's like the scarecrow, right? Like, I don't have a brain, I don't know what's going on, but this is what I want, and this is what I'm going for, and you can feel it. And it's an emotion, it's a feeling over everything else that's going on in your body. So you have this internal struggle, and it can make it really hard. But I've always found if you go with that intuition, that will guide you along the way that you really want to go. And that will open your eyes to other things. And if you pursue that and allow that to essentially come through and remove the voices enough. Yes, I will be wary of what's going on. Yes, I will be hopeful of what's going on, but we'll keep it within reason, right? On both sides. And I will still just pursue those things that I want by listening to that intuition. And so there's that constant battle that's constantly going through, and it takes time, again, to listen to those voices, really trying to figure out what's going on in there. Not so much going on, but just trying to understand how crazy those two people are in there, and realize that you take this advice all the time. And instead try to amplify that intuition and allow that to take a step forward and make more choices off the intuition. Because although it doesn't make sense, it will eventually make sense. And Steve Jobs talked about this. I remember watching him. He was giving a speech to a bunch of college kids. I don't remember what university it was, but he said, like, he followed his intuition and he didn't really know what would happen, right? And it wasn't until after the fact that he could piece everything together and it made perfect sense, which at the time it never made any sense. And so life is just about going with that intuition, and I've done that many times. Even though I've gotten into a situation, I have major life changes in my life where that left side was telling me, don't do this, this is not what you want, everything that you know is going to change. And so that where the fear side came in. The other side was like, but the grass is greener on the other side, and you can get this, this, and this, and it's so much better on that side. And so I was trying to find something that was an equalizer between the two, and that was my intuition. What did I feel? And I felt like by making this choice, even though as painful as that choice may be, that was the right choice. And it didn't make sense because I would make that choice, and then a day or two after, or as soon as I made that choice and it let it be known, I felt almost like I regretted making that choice at that point. Even days after the fact, I was like, man, what did I just do? And I'm sure you've had plenty of moments like that. You're like, man, I can't believe I just did that. And then you start racing back to that fearful side, trying to protect yourself because you want to be back to where you're comfortable. Just maybe it's not what you want, but it's comfortable to your mind, to your body. And that's where you have to realize that, the greatest growth, to make changes that last in your life, you have to push yourself beyond that. And this is also something why I push myself physically. I do a lot of different, exercises, some crazy exercises every day. And I push myself because of this matter every day, so I can, build that tolerance. It's like anything else, right? You have a tolerance to allowing that fear to kick in. You have a tolerance to allowing that, happy-go-lucky side go, right? And you have to understand that the more you prep for that stuff, which is why I do so much physical stuff, because it mentally prepares me for anything that can happen. And when you're prepared, things are so much easier. Yes, it's tough and it seems like a lot of work, but it's really not. If you're doing it consistently, it's not a lot of work. And then when something comes up, when that intuition comes up, you're ready for anything to happen. You essentially make your own luck. So when that intuition is telling you to do something and go somewhere, you just follow it, and then you'll be ready. And when those other voices come in, you've prepared yourself by paying attention to the voices and understanding what they do, and realize that, I've been essentially pushing against that tolerance, making sure that I can mentally handle this and allow myself to keep moving forward, realizing that, I've built the courage, I've built belief in myself and understanding that if I follow the intuition, I will be okay at the end of it. The initial choice will be tough, but that intuition will lead me where I want to go, where I need to go. And the more times you do that, you realize you'll be exactly where you want to be. And it may be something you never even thought about, but you'll be where you need to be. You'll be where you want to be when you get there, and you'll realize that. And then you can look back and understand that it all made sense. So remember, if you guys enjoyed this video, to hit the like button on the way out. And until next time, I will see you guys later.